Now I cannot wait to share everything I know about this game with you all. Why is that, you may ask? Well, it looks absolutely phenomenal, and we'll go through all the reason why that is in this video. The game is Dorf Real-Time Strategic Conflict. It's a return to classic RTS action where you'll be able to take command of one of 3 very unique factions in a very twisted version of the future. Construct sprawling bases, scour the land for resources to mine and refine, and then assemble powerful armies of land, air and sea units to smash your adversaries with. Now, I'll be first to admit that I wouldn't usually be all that interested in games with seemingly older styles of graphics, but trust me when I say it's a genius design choice. Coupled with some amazing creativity choices with the game already, the visuals are a huge part of the game's charm. Set in a twisted version of Earth's future, corrupted by genetic experiments, endless warfare and extraterrestrial anomalies, there is so much to unpack with this game and the footage we have so far, so let's do it in bite-sized chunks. The characteristic feature with most things in Dorf is that they are wild, and the units are no exception. I mean, look at this air unit on the left that seemingly has the front of a spaceship that allows the pilot to have maximum vision, and it looks so futuristic meshed on the main body of a unit with badass upwards pointing propellers with a tail that looks like it's from a fighter jet. Put it all together and you get a crazy air unit. And then you've got these small mech type units that look like the evil robot Ed from RoboCop. That's gonna be fun to use for sure. When you move on to this double armed Gatling gun equipped crazy tank that looks like it could take out a whole army all by itself. Moving on to another faction's units, you've got a standard looking tank behind some infantry units, but the vehicle behind it looks like it's going to shoot mortar shells to flatten everything in its way. We've got crazy Tesla tanks and heavy tanks that look like they have up to 3 spots that they fire from, and even these crazy Zeppelin air units that can go on insane bombing runs. Don't worry, by the way, we will be seeing these units and more in action in the next few clips. They look and sound absolutely awesome. Next up, let's talk about the buildings in Dorf. You'll be able to build massive bases of factories, refineries, defensive structures to build your armies, expand your economy, and secure your positions. One thing to note about Dorf is that whilst the graphical choice is reminiscent of the old style Command and Conquer games, the quality of life features are anything but old school. In Dorf, the structures can be rotated to have different facings to allow for maximum base layout effectiveness. In terms of creativity, some of these buildings look absolutely phenomenal. This barracks type structure, for example, looks awesome in its design with a hand and the index finger for the fire outlet. You could even imagine that the flame is there to signify when a unit is being trained. The attention to small details is so good that the exit portion of the barracks building already intuitively gives you the feel that it's going to be infantry coming out of there, rather than a big ass tank that simply wouldn't fit out of the outlet. Oh, and not to mention, it even looks like the building structures change in appearance significantly when they are damaged. Like here, where you can see the turbine here has been severed, with it rotating, but kind of in 2 halves. Now, whilst the game gives you that nostalgic old Command and Conquer vibe, this time everything is taken up a notch on the epicness scale. Base construction and resource harvesting have had a modern twist, where resources must get from the refineries to the factories, rewarding players with efficient base layouts. So it won't just be about mining a resource, but you'll also need to ensure that it gets processed as well. Pump oil from deposits, mine ore from beneath the surface, and gather scrap and debris left over from previous battles to fuel your war machine, giving Dorf a 3-resource economy. Dorf will have 3 unique factions. Play as the brutalist battle-hardened Empire, the junkyard jalopy war machines of the warbands, or the technologically sophisticated and mysterious New World Order. With a massive arsenal at your disposal, from psychic rogues to multi-turret land ships, self-cloaking tanks, and giant crushing junk spheres of death, every faction offers their own arsenal of powerful and strange units. With all that said, however, let's take a look at the faction descriptions in even closer detail. The first faction we're going to take a look at is the Union of Imperial States, also known as the Crumbling Empire. They are situated in the north, covering a vast expanse of the continent in factories and rail lines. They exist as a confederation of powerful industrialists, aristocrats, and military mobility. Though their territories are extensive, and their legions of armor and artillery are a force to be reckoned with, and their concrete super fortresses and colossal vehicles are a marvel of military engineering, their empire has been slowly eroded by the gnawing attacks of raiders, corrupt officials, dwindling resources, and sabotage by rival powers. Unless a great leader can emerge to reverse their fortunes, they exist on borrowed time. The warband tribes, also known as the barbarians, well, they are the most numerous peoples of the Second World. Countless miles of land and sea are ruled by all kinds of isolationist nomads, superstitious cults, seafaring pirates, and bloodthirsty motorized warbands. For a long time, they have been considered too technologically backwards to be an existential threat by the civilized border nations. Beyond the occasional raid, authorities have recently scrambled to decry rumors of so-called witches, strange creatures, and massive armies of twisted machines made from the litter of the old world, wreaking havoc across the continent. While these backwards people have existed for centuries, if a single warlord were to unite them all, it could very seriously mean the end for their more civilized neighbors. The third and final faction is the Triple Consortium, also known as the New World Order. In the east, a series of private enterprises and local militias have risen from humble origins and conglomerated into a singular entity. This new state is now the single most advanced fighting force on the planet, using re-engineered technologies from the old world to put it ahead of its rivals and rapidly expanding its territories using enormous mobile refineries and walking structures supported by the best trained soldiers and pilots on the continent. While even in recent memory its people were once simple farmers and workers, with the rapid industrialization of its cities and emergent military force, this new government has set its sights on expansion, and no rival powers may be able to stop it. Now, if you thought what we've seen so far from Dorf is epically crazy, well, the game will feature an elaborate campaign for each of the game's 3 factions, as well as a multiplayer with up to 8 players per match. That is going to be absolute chaos, and I love it. Oh, speaking of chaos, you can have your troops engage in brutal close quarters fights by storming enemy fortifications and facilities, and whilst you're at it, you can capture your enemies' factories and use their own technologies against them. From what I've seen so far, Dorf is going to be an absolutely insane real-time strategy game. I can't wait for the next update, and if you'd like to know about the next update too, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell. Take care, and see you next time.